What is going on to all my Autobots out there? It is your boy, your man's back at it with another review. And Saturday, I was able to check out an early screening of Transformers 1. And this is the final review in my Transformers review series of all the movies. So if you missed all those reviews, be sure to check that out. But before we get into actual beginning of the review itself, guys, don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. Because number one, it's absolutely free. Number two, on the road. It also may be able to YouTube algorithm recommend video. More people, maybe they could join. And do feel free to comment your thoughts on Transformers 1 down below. Well, that being said, guys, let's get right into it. And before we get right into it, let's give a quick plot synopsis, shall we? So, transition and choose Zamiya.
Brothers in arms, Orion Pax and D16 become sworn enemies, Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Alright, so, where I stand with the Transformers franchise is I love one movie, I really like another, and then two of them I think are decent, and then the rest of them I could take or leave, and one I hate in particular. And when the first trailer came out for this, I did not think the trailer was good at all. But however, when the second trailer came out, it surprised me. It got me a little bit more hooked in and got me more interested with the idea of a Transformers prequel with Optimus and Megatron. So, and I went to see it Saturday, and well, with that being said, guys, let's just get into the actual review itself. So, starting off with the good, we have showing the brotherhood of Optimus and Megatron. So, in the movies, the live-action movies in more particular, they always they always mention how Optimus Prime and Megatron used to be the bestest of friends. And this movie actually explores that before they eventually butt heads in the future. And I think everything they did in here with their specific relationship,
where tension grows throughout the whole entire movie with their friendship, where they're not seeing eye to eye, and you're wondering, oh, are they going to do it this movie, or are they going to do it in a sequel, where they become rivals?
Also, the voice acting in here I thought was really good. You have ScarJo playing Alita, you have Chris Evans... wrong Chris, Lucas. Chris Hemsworth voicing Optimus Prime. And you also have probably the two standouts of the movie, in my opinion, of Brian Tyree Henry as the voice of Megatron and Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee. I think those were my favorite voice castings in this movie. And I think probably the best voice acting one is probably Brian Tyree Henry, which he was already in a couple of movies I've seen before. He was in Eternals, which I've kind of warmed up on, and then also he was in the two most recent Godzilla vs. Kong movies. So, and he does phenomenal in here as the voice of Megatron. The lore is another positive I have in here, where there's a couple little aspects of lore left in the live-action Michael Bay movies and the animated movie, but this one they explore the lore a little bit more in a very fascinating way with what came before Optimus and Megatron. So, and I thought all that was really, really interesting. Another one, positive, the comedy in here. I thought there were, surprisingly a lot of laugh-out-loud moments that I was not expecting, and most of them coming from
Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee himself. Also, there's a couple laughs from other Autobots a little bit later on in the movie as well.
Oh yeah, because from the trailers, it looked like it was going to be kid humor, farts, and all that. And luckily, that was not the case here. There was actually a couple good laughs throughout the whole entire movie here. The cinematography. I think the cinematography was very beautiful for this film and done very well. throughout this animated movie, and it definitely comes, I would say the cinematography comes close to like those other anime movies like Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. The cinematography was mwah in here. The fallout between Megatron and Optimus, I thought was handled very well in this movie as well. How it was sprinkling in little fallouts between the two of them, which will eventually lead to bigger films. I thought it was handled very, very, very well in here, where you have their, as I mentioned before, their competing dynamics when it executes it. I think when you start to see them arguing, it handles it very, very well. The transformation sequences, I thought the transformation sequences in this animated movie were done really well, and I would like to see more of them if this does become a franchise and if this is successful. The action sequences in here, I think, were all really, really awesome. There's a particular sequence earlier on in the movie that I thought was really captivating with all of its stunning visuals, and I hope we get some more scenes like that for the sequels. Sentinel Prime as a villain is another good in here. I think it gives a little bit of a different version than the one you've seen in the Transformers Dark of the Moon. It's more of a self-absorbed one that I thought was handled very well as well. And then the final good I have in here is the dark turns. As I mentioned before, I was expecting this movie to be very kid oriented, and there were some dark turns in here that I was not expecting for a kids movie, and I actually did appreciate them going those specific directions. I won't get into any specifics because I got a spoiler review coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I enjoyed a lot of the dark turns they did in here. So that is the good done. Now let's move on to the mix. And the first big one I have really is the animation, which, don't get me wrong, it definitely
does grow on you throughout the film, but at the beginning it takes a while for you to get used to it, because it kind of looks reminiscent of a Nickelodeon TV show, a version of the Transformers, if I'm being honest. But eventually it does grow on you, as I said before.
Another one I got in here is the final fight. The final fight, I think, had... I'm not going to go too deep into details here because I don't want to give away spoilers. But the final fight started off very well, but then a little later in the fight, it feels kind of rushed, and it went by super quick. And I was kind of expecting it to be a longer, more dramatic fight sequence with whoever fights in there. So that's probably the biggest mixed aspect I have, because it had a lot going for it, but then it didn't quite land the ship in ending that battle sequence, I think. But it was still a solid battle sequence. The Transformers not having their original names is another mixed aspect I have in here, where Optimus and Megatron and Bumblebee and Alita don't have their original names, and we all saw it in the trailer. And I don't know necessarily how to feel about it. Well, more specifically, Optimus and Megatron, because Optimus in here is known as Orion, which I don't necessarily know how to feel about that, really. And then Megatron had a different name too, so it was just overall very mixed, not being their original names. The first third of the movie is one that's totally gonna divide some people, because it's very slow build. It's not super slow, but it is a slow build to lead you into the movie. It personally worked for me, but I think for a whole lot of other people, it's probably not going to work for them, and they kind of want it to move by a little bit faster when that first third of the movie, where it's setting the world up and all the characters and such, so there's that. And final mixed aspect I have in here is how it handles Alita, which, Alita in here kind of feels like a side character. Well, I mean, she always was kind of one of the Transformers that didn't get the amount of spotlight, of course, Bumblebee, Megatron, and Optimus do in here. And for this one, she just comes in a little bit later on in the movie just to throw an actual extra name in there. That's what it feels similar to. That's what it feels like for me. So there's that. And now we go on to the bad. And I only have really one bad, which surprised me. And when the big bad I have is when Chris Hemsworth tries to bring out his inner Optimus Prime in his voice. So for most of this movie, I will say that Chris Hemsworth as Optimus mostly just has an American accent the whole entire time. But there's parts a little specifically in the ending where he basically tries to bring out his inner Optimus Prime voice. And I would have just preferred him to do his inner American accent voice, but he just does that Optimus Prime voice, which it seems like he was actually just trying to do an Optimus Prime impression. That's all I'm gonna have to say. But that's a very minor nitpick. And with that being said, guys, this is probably one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. Let's bring out the toxic meter. And surprisingly, I gotta go A. Or should I go A+? I don't know. That's tough. Yeah. No, I'm gonna stick A. It's an A, and it is not toxic. And for Transformers fans, I would definitely recommend seeing this, because this is a Transformers movie all of us fans have been wanting for a very long time, and I was very surprised by this. And, maybe I'll end up seeing it again because I loved it, and I was very surprised by that. So, with that being said, guys, that is just my review of Transformers 1. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on the movie down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know all that. And with that being said, guys, I'll see y'all next one, everybody. Peace. And Optimus, help me out here.
Autobots, roll out.